Good morning, children. Hope you are safe at home. Today, let us listen to a lovely poem called The Elf Singing. Do you all know what is the meaning of an elf? An elf is an imaginary tiny creature with some magical powers. You must have heard the word elf in Santa's stories. Elves are also called as Santa's helpers. So today we will listen to a poem on an elf who is singing. First, let us read the whole poem and then understand the meaning. You can read along with me, children. An elf sat on a twig. He was not very big. He sang a little song. He did not think it wrong. But he was on a wizard's ground, who hated all sweet sound. Elf, elf, take care of yourself. He's coming behind you to seize you and bind you and stifle your song. The wizard, he changes his shape in crawling along an ugly old ape, a poisonous lizard, a spotted spider, a wormy glider. The wizard, he's up on the bow. He'll bite through your gizzard. He's close to you now. The elf went on with his song. It grew more clear and strong. It lifted him into air. He floated singing away, with rainbows in his hair. While the wizard worm from his creep made a sudden leap, fell down into a hole, and ere his magic word he could say, was eaten up by a mole. And the poet for this lovely poem is William Allingham. Now let us read some of the meanings of the words from this poem. Elf is an imaginary creature with magical powers. So these elves are generally heard in fairy tales and stories. Twig is a small thin stem of wood that grows from a branch on a tree. Seize means to take hold of somebody or something. Stifle means stop something from happening. Bow is a main branch on a tree. Gizzard is a part of the stomach. Ere means before. And mole is a small dark furry animal. Now let's read the poem again and understand the meaning. An elf sat on a twig. He was not very big. He sang a little song. He did not think it wrong. So this poem tells us that there was a tiny elf, and that tiny elf was sitting on the twig of a branch. He was tiny in nature, and he was sitting on that twig and singing a lovely song and enjoying himself. But he was on a wizard's ground who hated all sweet sound. But the elf didn't know that he was sitting and singing on the ground which belong to a wizard. Wizard is the male or masculine gender of a witch. So a wizard has magical powers. Here is a picture of that wizard. Elf, elf, take care of yourself. He's coming behind you to seize you and bind you and stifle your song. So here the elf is being warned to take care of himself because now the wizard is very angry because he doesn't like to hear sweet songs. So he's coming to capture and catch hold of the elf and stop him from singing his sweet song. The wizard, he changes his shape in crawling along an ugly old ape, a poisonous lizard. So as you know, the wizard has magical powers, so he can change into scary creatures. So they are warning the elf again. Take care, dear elf, the wizard is coming along. But now he is no longer a wizard. He is changing himself. First, he starts crawling and becomes an ugly old ape. Then he changes into a poisonous lizard and he's trying to catch the elf. A spotted spider, a wormy glider. The wizard, he's up on the bow. He'll bite through your gizzard. He's close to you now. So now after the poisonous lizard, the elf has turned into a spotted spider. And lastly, he turns into a worm that is gliding. And he's trying to eat up the elf and bite through his stomach. He's come very close to the elf now. The elf went on with his song. It grew more clear and strong. It lifted him into air. He floated singing away with rainbows in his hair. Though the wizard was after the elf was so busy in singing his sweet song that his voice grew much more clear and stronger. And as he was singing, he started flying into the air, singing away in happiness. And there were rainbows in the sky. So the elf did not worry about the wizard. While the wizard wormed from his creep, made a sudden leap, fell down into a hole. So when the wizard was into a worm, he jumped and made a leap. But when he jumped to eat the elf, he fell down into a hole. And ere his magic word he could say, was eaten up by a mole. After falling into the hole, before he could say his magic word and turn back into himself, he got eaten up by a furry underground animal called the mole. So in this way, the wizard does not catch the elf as well as gets trapped in his own magic. So this was the poem on the elf singing. Now you all can read this poem aloud once at home. Write the pairs of rhyming words you find in this poem. Rhyming words are those words which have the same end sound. Some of the words are twig, big, wizard, gizzard, bow, now, ground, sound, song, strong, away, say. Song, wrong. Air, hair. Song, along. Elf, yourself. Creep, leap. Wizard, lizard. Spider, glider. And hole, mole. Question 3. Complete the following in your own words. So you can complete these sentences based on the poem you have read. A. The elf could sit on a twig because he was quite small. B. The elf loved to sing songs. C. The wizard hated all sweet sounds. D. If the elf was not careful, the wizard would seize him and tie him up and stop his song. E. As the elf's song grew clear and strong, it lifted him into the air. F. The wizard worm made a leap and fell into a hole and was swallowed up by a mole. Question 4. Discuss the following. Why the wizard can take only frightening and ugly shapes? The wizard took only frightening and ugly shapes since he wanted to scare the elf and capture and bind him. B. Does the elf sing a happy song? Answer. Yes, the elf sings a happy song. So this was all in this poem, children. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and have a nice day.